All right, we are live. Let me just apologize. This live tonight is really important to me because poverty and working with people who are in desperate need is something that has always been something that I've really wanted to help focus on, and I've kind of dedicated a lot of my career to trying to be a voice around some of these issues and also to acknowledge them. I'm a bleeding heart liberal, and I do agree with a lot of the policies that are being promoted by the left, because I mean, at the end of the day, America is seeing high levels of economic inequality, and a lot of the times people who deal with that inequality, deal with that inequality tend to be marginalized communities. So first, I want to say thank you. Welcome to Talks with Alex. We're here at 8 p.m. every week. Like, comment, and share. Please comment, ask questions. I have an amazing guest. So just to kind of preface this, there's almost 400,000 people who live in poverty in the city of Philadelphia. Just to give some kind of concept of what that is more than the populations of Camden, Harrisburg, and Trenton combined. Living in this city, living in poverty, okay? And roughly 900 of them sleep outside, with an estimated 55,600 more in shelters. Many of these individuals, who likely inherited poverty from their parents, are hampered by mental or physical illness, as well as substance abuse and disorders. And so this is a real problem, especially in large cities where they have huge homeless populations. And the guest that I'm bringing on today is someone who is being an activist, trying to make sure that this problem is kind of fixed here in the city, and has been fighting for that change. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce my great guest, who is Sterling Johnson. And Sterling K. Johnson is a lawyer and current PhD student. They are an organizer with the Black and Brown Workers Cooperative and ACT UP Philadelphia. The Black and Brown Workers Cooperative is an organization committed to Black liberation through a revolutionary framework. Sterling has experience in homeless and housing advocacy in the city of Philadelphia. They have also worked with advocates to fight for housing first resources in Kensington, and also for the siting of a safe injection site. They fight for housing as a human right. So Sterling, welcome to Talks with Alex. And I'm kind of excited to have this conversation with you. I have so many questions around this and what's going on. And so we're just going to kind of dive right into this, okay? We talked about homelessness. We talked about the eviction moratorium last week, so I feel this is very fitting to happen this week. So my first question for you is, what moved you to be a part of this type of work?
What me? I guess, thanks for having me on, Alex. I mean, that's a really deep question. What will you to be a part of this work? I think it's half my positionality, I guess I'm going to say now, positionality, right? In this movement, as a person that is queer, that has experienced levels of racism and discrimination and oppression, like myself. I'm a disabled person. I remember growing up and being forced to move to a lot of different places with my mother. And that's just, those experiences are what drive me to be here. So when I went to law school, it was really important that people had a vision, and my vision was to make sure that people's autonomy was respected, and that was different than a lot of other people. But when I came back from there, I knew I wanted to put those tools to use. So I'm here doing this activism.
Okay, so then my next question is although encampments happen in the city all the time, many say this encampment is unique because it is formally organized. Can you explain why they say this?
I don't know. I don't know why they would say that. Who's they? Who's they?
So it was a guy called David Fair, in one of the Inquirer
Oh,
articles.
David Fair. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
No, David Fair
they
is
can't.
a wonderful activist that is really a godsend to all of us in terms of LGBT activism in the city and just being around. He knows where all the bodies are buried. I mean, when it comes to why David would say that, I think that he's been around a long time and he knows that the idea of like homeless activism, occupying spaces, doing sit-ins to city council people and the mayor is has been something that has been lost. We've had like a generation of people that have lost those ideas of occupation and staying in space and occupying space in a real way for a long time. So I think he was just remarking upon the fact that this was a little different. The city was having to handle it very differently, and definitely appreciate all of his comments for that.
Okay. So then, what do you say to people that say that the encampment is a health and safety hazard?
Yeah, health and safety hazard means yeah. Whew, wow, there's so much on that because we're in the time of COVID, right? We're in this time of COVID, so like that's another reason that's a health and safety hazard. So generally, I mean, there are several parts of that. Generally, uh, encampment, people living outside, um, that can be a health and safety hazard if the city does not provide sanitation and hygiene materials for the people there. Yes, it can. In other cities and other states, they do that, and they try their best to keep people safe, people clean. Based on that, I would say most, if not all, cities that we're in collaboration with do it really, really poorly. Do it in a very oppressive fashion. They pretty much blamed the people that are experiencing homelessness for the condition that things are in, even though the people are trying their best to keep up uh, the materials, the trash and sweeping and trying to maintain a little bit of order around there. In the time of COVID, I would say that it's complete. I don't know. Can we curse on this? I don't know. Should I?
You can if you want
Okay.
to.
Yeah, I am. If whoever would say it's a health and safety hazard is full of bullshit. It's like that's what our mayor says. That's what our managing director's office says. That's what the Department of Public Health says. That's what the director of Homeless Services says. I mean, I don't know if you were engaged in with national partners around like what is the best thing that any municipality should be doing around homelessness, you would know that you would be following CDC guidelines on how to support people in the outdoors regarding the sanitation and hygiene that has to go on when you are that way. So it doesn't make any sense for them to be talking about the health hazards of an encampment when they are not providing sanitation and hygiene for it. It's just not true. We have done testing for people that are at the encampment. I think 2 people out of the about 50 that were tested came up positive. In general, there haven't been people that have had symptoms. When people do have symptoms of any sort of disease, that could be passed on, we immediately take them to the hospital. That's what happens. Um, we have a lot of public health messaging up around that. We have hand sanitizer and masks. A lot of times people don't wear the mask, but I mean things are available for people, and the fact that we're outside actually means that we're at a safer place than a really covered internal like congregate space. There have been outbreaks in the Philadelphia housing homeless shelters. There have been outbreaks in homeless shelters across the country, from Boston, Chicago, and San Francisco. So we know that it can be dangerous, especially at this time, for people to be in those shelters. And there's a good reason that people would not want to be in. But a person gave me a really good experience of when they were at my brother's place, and they just felt really, really at risk. And the fact of the matter is that most people just experiencing homelessness puts you in this environment where you're more likely to have these chronic diseases that make it more likely for you to die. So it's actually quite the opposite, right? The health hazard is actually going into the shelter, not staying outside of it, in the sanctioned, safe place for people to be outside.
So then, I'm curious as to why have activists and some of the people in the encampment been turning away the outreach workers that have been coming in trying to help?
Yeah, in general, that was really based in just our kind of political practice. One of the the things. I mean, that's changed, right? So that changed in middle of July. There were some people that wanted to talk to outreach, and they can talk to outreach. They, but what we do know is that a lot of times outreach and all the organizations that are part of it, including like Project Home and One Day at a Time, their like directive is about like collecting people, is about counting people, is about making sure that they are given services, quote unquote. So it's really important that we found a way to divorce them from that, and go towards what we were saying is basically people have the ability to make their own decisions. When you are in a shelter, as maybe, I don't know if you've ever been in one, ever been homeless or anything, or you're in one of these institutions, there's a lot of rules, a lot of people telling you what you can and cannot do. We're all, these are adults, these are people that have children, these are people that have jobs, these are people that are business owners or have been business owners. So it's really offensive to treat people that are unhoused like children. It's really important that they have some sort of order, but you can't overreach there and treat them like children. So one of the reasons that we have stopped outreach from going into the spaces because because we are in opposition to outreach as well, and we know that the city uses outreach as an excuse to then brutally like remove people and steal their stuff, which is unconstitutional, and throw it in the trash. So it was really important that that everybody understood that outreach was an essential part of the state violence that we were, that we were protesting.
Well, I'm just curious because I mean, can you just kind of give me like what types of things are happening inside of these shelters that are and what types of rules are you speaking of that are treating them as if they are children and not adults? If you have individuals, because most of the time individuals who tend to choose to be not I'm not going to even say choose to sleep on the street because a lot of the stuff is not a choice, but who end up in these spaces usually have some sort of a mental health issue, or there is some sort of a drug habit, or there is some sort of a physical impairment or something like that. Like I understand that due to COVID, many have found themselves in homeless situations because of maybe loss of home or loss of income or whatever may have happened that may have put them in that position. But if these people aren't in structured places like that give them some sort of an order and rule, and these nonprofits are bound by whatever requirements there are for their grants so they can continue to help people who are in these spaces. Like what I'm just curious about like what types of rules do you feel like are like just unjust or just extreme?
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, I push back on the idea that most people that are unhoused have some kind of mental health condition or a drug addiction or habit. I mean, people use drugs all the time without problematic use, without any chaotic use too. So I think that needs to be really challenged. So like in general, if you're in any of those places, you really can't bring drugs inside. You can't bring alcohol inside, right? You can't even bring a lighter inside. You get patted down by the security before you enter each time. Some people don't like to be kind of sexually assaulted and touched them in their thighs and their lower back, like every time they enter their home. Like that essentially is what happens to people. So if you think that's unnecessary, well then let's figure that out, right? In terms of permanent housing, some of the permanent housing options are there are curfews. You can't have your partner with you. You can't really congregate. There's security on every floor. For example, in the hotel, there's security on every floor. So they don't really want people congregating, quote unquote, with each other. That means talking to each other. Let's see. You can only bring so many goods with you, right? You can't really like keep all your possessions, and your possessions are not really your possessions. you're a drug user, you can't have your syringes, so you have to throw them outside before you come in. You can't even put it in like an amnesty bag in some places. Some places do have an amnesty bag, so that's very good. But in general, and I guess to explain an amnesty bag, it's a bag that is a black box that they promise not to look in. But it's basically a place where you can, have something like a syringe. A syringe is a life-saving, tool that like keeps you from getting AIDS, keeps you like from getting other diseases, and also like makes sure that your body remains like safe, so you're not dealing with like a bunch of different injection-related illnesses. I mean, there are just, I mean, that's, I could go on, right? like,
Okay. Well, I
but
mean,
like it's really important. Yeah, I'm not.
my I think, do you feel like, and so I think that, and the premise of if they don't need to go into the shelter is that the shelters are inhumane in their treatment, not
No,
necessarily
no,
the.
no, 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 no. It's not. It's not that they're inhumane. The premise is that for many, many people, they actually are making a choice to stay outside because it's the better choice for them. I don't
Right.
like to take that autonomy away from the people. A lot of people they know what the shelter can offer, so they've chosen to stay outside. So there has to be a choice that is outside, a choice that remains pretty, I guess, what they call low barrier, but that does keep some sort of like practice of maintaining possession, so there's stealing and all those things around people's safety. But yeah, people making a choice. Yeah, the choice is what's best for them. They would not like something that reminds them of prison every single time they enter. Or
Okay.
people have been in institutions for a long time. They would like to not be reminded of institutions each time they go into their quote unquote home. Yeah.
Okay. So then, I mean, what is the ultimate end game? For what was the ultimate end game for the encampment for you? Like, what would have been a win?
I mean, in general, like our win is been the primary demand that we've had. It is very clear. It is about transferring properties to a nonprofit or several nonprofits to then hold them for people at the encampment that would like houses. There is a lot of vacant scattered site housing authority properties. There's a lot of vacant properties that are held by the land bank. Those should be transferred to the people of Philadelphia to hold in the community land trust. That's hundreds of properties that should be held as low income or no income, no low or no income in perpetuity. Like most likely would be my preference, right? Because if you're poor in the city of Philadelphia, it's really hard to find housing. It's really hard to find quality housing too. So pretty important that we make sure that there's a space for those people. And what I would like to mention too is that like, this is for people that are low income, just because they can't afford the high rents because we've sold our city to developers, right? And this has been a process. We've seen it constantly. We've seen mass evictions from buildings, from the Penguin to the Dorset Admiral to the Pavilion, mass evictions, hundreds of people that are just thrown out into the street and given nothing, right? So this is about housing policy. This is about our land tenure policy. We need to have low income spaces for anybody, right? But especially Black people, because I mean, Black people have been, which the camp is like 90% Black. We have to remind ourselves that this is about racial justice. This is about like making sure there's a space in this city for Black people. Um, yeah.
So, for the most part, do you feel like what has happened has been mainly successful? Do you think there has been any wins um, that you have seen so far?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I would say my own like outcome evaluation process is more towards what are we doing for the exact people that are on the ground that have been doing this work, and for them, they are going to have to find another place to be. Their home is being destroyed by the city. Um, so when I struggle with finding wins, it's based in that. I mean, those are just the people that we talk to every day. And I struggle with the city as we, try to criticize them in very direct manners, and have tried every sort of way to get them to force the housing authority to do what they need to do.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's not a win. It's not a win for all the people I know. It's not a win for Dinah. It's not a win for Shannon. It's not a win for the people that we know. They did this. They were there for 3 months. It's a lot of labor.
Okay, so then my thing is, what do you worry about most about tomorrow? And what do you think the best outcome would be tomorrow? And what do you think the worst outcome would be tomorrow? I mean,
Um,
I understand that you don't want, and we all don't want these people to see their homes being taken away. But what do you think what could be the best outcome? What do you think the best outcome would be as far as what happens tomorrow? Just out of curiosity, because I know it's just like, I think the city is removing it tomorrow at 9 a.m.
yeah.
And so, I mean, and there's probably going to be a lot of cameras out there. I mean, I think one of the advantages is you brought a lot of press to this issue. And there is a lot now. You've kind of put a spotlight on something that people have been able to look over. But you put a spotlight on the advocates who do this work on a daily basis. You put a spotlight on the government. And so you now have the spotlight. What do you think would be the best thing to be able to bring more attention, or how do you feel like it? What do you think the best outcome about tomorrow could be, or it can be for you? And then what is the next move? I don't.
Wow, that's so hard. Yeah, I mean, it's just not. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the best move is. People are losing their homes tomorrow, and it's just really sad. It's just really sad. I wish it weren't happening. I wish we
You
could have
don't think,
come to a decision. I wish we could have come to a place where we just felt that the city was really working with us to figure out a solution for the people on the ground. A solution would have been to figure out a way to get some people into some houses and to fix up some properties in a fast manner, which we just haven't done. That's not what the city really engaged with us in. That wasn't what we were talking about. They were definitely going to do whatever they wanted to do, and they had no intention of really taking us seriously.
so you didn't have. So I'm just curious. You didn't have when you decided to, or when we decided to, or when you decided to take on this work. You didn't have a real clear strategy. You just knew that you wanted um, these people to be put into homes that were
Oh
long
no,
term.
yeah, that was
Taking
our
some of these.
strategy. That's our strategy. Yeah, no, we have a clear strategy. The
Okay.
strategy is that we have permanent housing for people. Everything that has been offered has been in the future, has been a promise, has been a thing that doesn't exist, right? So I guess to go down like bit by bit, COVID prevention hotels, those would not be opened unless there was advocacy around it. COVID prevention hotels, basically federal money that is delivered to municipalities to just provide a like a non-congregate setting. That means with a bathroom, a bed, a, um, a shower that only one person is using. So those things are quite important for people to I guess to guard against COVID spread, right? So that's really important, not only for the people but also for the community generally. I don't know if I don't know if you've been inside of like a homeless shelter or been to one of these spaces where people are waiting in line to take showers. It actually takes up a lot of your day to just wait for someone to take a shower, and it's those are the interactions that we need to get granular on about the experience of being unhoused in the city. It takes up so much time, and the people that are experiencing homelessness and houselessness have so much patience with people because they know things don't go fast. That's what they've been told their whole lives. I know that's what I've been told my whole life. It's just like when we talk about like our goals, it's permanent housing. It's housing that won't be taken away from the person.
So
Alex, yeah, I mean, Alex, it's like permanent housing. We're not talking about like something that ends in 2 years. We're not talking about something that you could be kicked out of. Like people have already been evicted from shelters. People have already been evicted from like one day at a time shelter or self shelter or from housing. People have already been kicked out of Project Home. People have already experienced evictions from the housing authority. So now, why would that be the solution? They're like, that's not the solution for me.
But
Everybody.
hear me, Sterling. I'm asking because these people now, the spotlight has been put on them. Their stories have been now broadcasted to the whole city and almost to other parts of the region and the country. And they're going to be evicted from this place tomorrow. And they have been looking to the organizers and the people that have been around them, orbiting them for direction. And so I'm just curious as to what is the next.
No, that is the fact that I'm talking about. Like we're not really like this is the will of all the people there. Like whenever there's a decision that has to be made, whenever there's a deal that's been brought to the people there, I mean, they said no. You want permanent housing? I've already been through that. I'm not going to go back to the place that I was kicked out of. Why is that the solution? And we already know people that have been kicked out of shelters. I've been helping people, place people, and support people when they go from the encampment, and then they just end up right back at the encampment because our system is broken. It's run by a bunch of people that don't care. They don't give a shit about whether a person is at their shelter or not. They will kick them out summarily. There's no process to really keep them there. So I'm not sure even what to say about that. And it's like I'm like when we do organizing, the way that I do it, I'll just speak for myself. The way I do organizing is that like a deal is brought to the people, right? When they wanted advocacy, when they wanted outreach there, when they asked us if outreach could be there, we like went back to people and said, all right, we know that in the previously we weren't having outreach here, but they have these other things that they're offering. Would you like for them to be here? Like people were like, it's been a month. Yeah, sure, we'll have them here. Because people do want some of the services. Plus, there are resources that those spaces have, and that's how you have to get a resources through their process, which isn't even necessary. That's just the process of Philadelphia. So they are not looking to us for like the answers. They have the answers themselves, and I think that is like one of the essential, like really rotten things about Philadelphia advocacy is like the answers are like coming from the people. And they said they want permanent housing. They're not kidding. They're not. It's for a reason because they've already been like evicted by the lawyers at PHA. How could they trust those people again to serve their interests? They're like, no, they're going to be back on the street, which they will be, right? Because without anybody looking, they're going to be summarily put back on the street through whatever process. Because we know people. This city is rotten, right? They will find a way to retaliate against you, so you don't have a job, you can't have a livelihood. They will focus on you because how dare you like question their services? How dare you question Mel Wells or Sister Mary? These are great people, right? Yeah. I mean, we know it. We know it. All the people all the people in our orbit are those people. We are the unwashed. We are the people that have been kicked out, have been fired, have been like they made it so there's enough of us, so we get to come together and figure things and make a new world. And that's what we're gonna do. We have no fear. I mean, I said, you better hope we die. You better hope I die because there's no way I'm gonna sit here and let you say that it take you. A lot of the gifts of bringing the attention to this has been other things moving, and there are condors, these vultures just circling the remains of that. So the booty that will come from that. So we're watching them. I'm not going to say their names. Maybe I will later, though. Who knows? It's important to say who that is. It's these nonprofits with people that have never experienced homelessness in their lives, or been black, or been disabled, or been institutionalized, or anything. So they're fine with institutions. They're like, yeah, I don't care, even though they would never have a curfew at their house, or maybe they have a curfew with their partner or something. Because that's their choice. But the whole thing is that they do not respect the autonomy of black people, and a free black person is a dangerous black person. And that just can't be. So that's where we're at in terms of like our success, right? the more people that are free to build their own communities and to have that autonomy, that is what, and these people have done that. You say that they organize, like, I do nothing there on a daily basis. I like do a little bit of things, but like in terms of organizing everything, that has been the people that have been experiencing homelessness. They like even took a few people to another encampment to start at and to try to build a real solid amount of people over at the Azalea Garden, right? Lemon Hill, right? And also at Camp Teddy. These places, if we had like a real network of encampments around the city that were working together and making sure that people that were outside of the system were able to live safely and well and autonomously, then that'd be something. Then we could talk. But we're going to just have to do that ourselves because the city has clearly stated that they don't want to be a partner in that process.
So, first, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, Sterling. It's definitely always a pleasure. We probably should do this more often, is communicate more often. What I do for everybody that is on my show is give them a space to kind of leave the audience with a good word or a last thought, and then also how to connect with you to watch the work that you do or even be a part of what you do. And so I'll give you a few minutes to do that because we're at 9 o'clock. And I know that tonight is a very important night and there's a lot of thought. It's probably just gonna have to go into tomorrow morning and preparing yourself emotionally and mentally for that. So what would you like to leave for my audience today?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, thank you to everybody that's watching. I mean, really, it's been amazing to get support from so many people in the city of Philadelphia. Just the money donations, the physical donations, the food, the medical supplies, everything would not happen unless there was sufficient support, even some institutional support that really made sure that they were just delivering resources without like being gatekeepers, right? So I'm sure other people that are listening now have given to it and supported us in so many ways. So I just want to say thank you to all those people and all those institutions that have tried their best, which is really hard in this world, to just release the resources without the conditions. And in terms of the work that we do, PhiladelphiaHousingAction.info is where a lot of information is at. Every update from the press releases we have, everything regarding all the actions that really Jen has
The Black
done.
and Brown Workers Collective. You're talking about the Black and Brown, or
yeah, you're right. Philadelphia Housing Action is really this broader coalition of Workers Revolutionary Collective, which is a great friend Alex, and my cousin James, who died in the midst of this. He put a lot of work into it. He died very suddenly, so very sad. And Occupy PHA is part of this, and really had so many direct actions regarding the housing authority and their mismanagement of public funds. And then the Black and Brown Workers Cooperative, who has been organizing in many different spaces over the years here. And I'm one of the co-organizers of the Black and Brown Workers Cooperative, which I just have been here along with them. They, especially the founders, Dominique London, Abdul Ali Muhammad, and Shani Robin, have been really, supportive of every single action that has been in this in terms of like strategy around how do we make sure that we are staying centered in Black liberation and our collective liberation, being intersectional around the gender-based violence and gender justice, and really lifting up the voice of the Black femme people and trans people as well, and making sure that is as safe a space as it can be. We know that there are no safe spaces, but try to make them as safe as we can be. And I just want to say that our practice is really grounded in liberation, in all of our liberation. When we talk about state violence in the carceral state, we're talking about any of these institutions that are based in that have been you know, facing racism and control of our black bodies in particular, right? We're talking about community control of education, of healthcare, of housing, the essential goods of our world, of our life. Uh, and we just, what we say is, it's like we have care communities and we take care of us. You know, there's nobody else that's going to just give you a call, that's going to sit with you when you really had a hard day. It's us. It's everybody that's here. And it's before something happens. We're about preventing the harm, not just responding to it with police or with whomever. We want to prevent harm, and that means that you care constantly, and just surround yourself with the people that are in your care community. And that world doesn't have any police in it. It doesn't have any carceral institutions in it. It doesn't have a DHS that just steals your children. So hopefully there are more people that will be joining us in this, remaking, recreation, transformation of our current world. But yeah, I'm going to jump off and head to the encampments where, there's a mix of sadness, but joy. The amount of people that have come out, I Will Breathe, and many other organizations have provided like lots of entertainment, lots of food, lots of music, lots of moving. Any sort of revolution, there will be joy, there will be dancing. So we'll be dancing.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Sterling, and good luck.
Great.
And if you guys want to see or follow the story, of course, they'll be down there tomorrow at 9 a.m. And we will see what the next move of the city and how this is going to go tomorrow at 9. Thank you so much, Sterling, for the work that you're doing. And thank you and good luck. Okay. All right.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye. So, to wrap it all up, poverty is an issue in the city of Philadelphia. It's been a long time of trying to change it. So I want to also acknowledge there was a young man that recently passed away. His name was Josh Ike. He was young. He was 23 years old. So I guess my last moment word is just kind of a little bit sobering. Life is short, and we don't know when it will end. And so I always say it's just make sure that you live a life that you can be proud of, and where you feel like you've really made an impact in the world. Go ahead and pursue and follow that dream, and do the work to really help change and impact the world. 23 years old, he's gone too soon. And my heart kind of grieved and hurt about that when I found out about it. So my prayers go out to his family, who I'm sure are really grieving right now. This is Talks with Alex. Thank you all for connecting with me. This was a kind of a short show, and we kind of started late because, of course, this is a very busy night for Sterling, and I really felt it was important to have him on. So thank you again, Sterling, for coming on and speaking to me and my audience. You can definitely follow me on Talks with Alex YouTube. You can follow me at Deering_Alex on Twitter. And you can follow me on j.alex.deering on Instagram. And of course, you can always follow me, like, share, and comment on my posts and my talks on my channel, Alex Deering. Wow, one of my shows just got 1.5K views, which is crazy to me. So it's growing, which is good. So yeah, thank you all for following, and I hope you have a great night. And of course, again, please do that thing that you've been pushing off to do, and live life with purpose.